Thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. The Hegelian dialectic is a ploy used by the elite to enslave us ideologically by giving us typically two options that we must choose between in order to keep us enslaved and in reaction mode. The Hegelian dialectic guides our thoughts and actions by telling us we must pick a side. This happens all the time, and most of us are blind to it. Just to name a few, we have Republican versus Democrat, liberal versus conservative, for immigration, against immigration, feminist versus anti-feminist, Christian versus atheists. If you don't follow Jesus, you're obviously following Satan. And while I'm on the topic, I want to mention salvationism is a toxic belief system that says we must worship an outside entity who will come and rescue us from this world. This means we stay silent and will never recognize our divine potential. Moving on, the Hegelian dialectic manipulates our consciousness into a circular pattern of thought. We're told if it's not this, it's that, when in reality the answers lie way outside of these polluted belief systems that are given to us. When we buy into either side of these fabricated conflicts, we're obfuscating our divine power and placing it in the hands of accusation and contempt. We should be worshiping each other, but we keep fighting over things that the elite are giving us every single time. The abortion conflict and others are used to manipulate us into begging our slave masters to pass or repeal laws, further reinforcing that we have no power. They want us to protest. They want us heated about topics given to us by the media, so we never get to the true issues, which is we're all enslaved and the reality we're told exists is fake. Protesting is basically begging our slave masters to change a system already based on oppression and confinement. Another Hegelian dialectic is artificial conflict resolution, or problem-reaction-solution. Politician Edward House in Philip Drew Administrator wrote, "Deliberately create problems and then offer only those solutions that result in the expansion of government. Create conditions so frightful at home and abroad that the abandonment of personal liberty will appear as a reasonable price for world peace." First step, create a problem. Second step, generate opposition to the problem via media-driven fear, panic, and hysteria. Third step, offer a solution to the fabricated problem. A great example of this is the Patriot Act, which was passed after our government caused 9/11. Leading up to 9/11, bin Laden was rubbed in our faces via tapes our government magically always had their hands on. Not to mention, bin Laden was clearly a different person in multiple videos. The Patriot Act dissolved our rights in the name of terrorism and was the solution offered after the media-driven fear, panic, and hysteria. Terrorists are creations of our intelligence agencies. Wars are completely staged, school shootings are staged, and use crisis actors as well. World War I and World War II were used to execute agendas as well, but you can research yourself. This is happening constantly throughout the world. The Hegelian dialectic is the reason we must be on our feet when it comes to current events. We're naturally empathetic creatures, so they try to play with our emotions by reinforcing how terrible things are and how their solution must be employed in the name of the victims involved. The prescription is turn off the television. Our television has patented technology to manipulate our nervous system by electromagnetic fields. There's patents for subliminal messaging, for changing brainwave activity, and more. The television is programming our minds more than we think, hence the term programs. The news is the worst. I'm not saying don't enjoy movies and TV shows, but keep in mind the messages they're sending and limit it as much as you can. Also, stop feeding into the show. I know many of you feel passionate about women's issues, ethnic oppression, government corruption, and environmental destruction. But the change doesn't come from keeping these issues fragmented. It comes from coming together, realizing our divine potential, shunning money and government, and doing so in a peaceful way that isn't using hateful, fear-mongering energy. So that was just a quick summary of the Hegelian dialectic. Remember, guys, it's okay. Okay, we can beat all of this. We just have to snap out of it. So, thanks for watching. I love you all. Hey, thank you for joining me. Hope you're doing well. Our Earth used to be covered in magnificent trees that made our flat plain a sort of avatar-like paradise. We now call them mountains. The book of Ezekiel shows an amazing insight into what happened to these trees, and it's hidden in plain sight. So we're going to Ezekiel chapter 31, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Now, the popular interpretation of what I'm about to read is that it's a warning for Egypt that its empire is going to be losing prominence, just like Assyria. While a lot of the Bible is completely allegorical, this is one of those chapters which says it incredibly clearly. So let's begin. On June 21st, during the 11th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give this message to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all his hordes. To whom would you compare your greatness? You are like mighty Assyria, which was once like a cedar of Lebanon, with beautiful branches that cast deep forest shade, and with its top high among the clouds. Deep springs watered it and helped it to grow tall and luxuriant. The water flowed around it like a river, streaming to all the trees nearby. This great tree towered high, higher than all the other trees around it. It prospered and grew long, thick branches because of all the water at its roots. The birds nested in its branches, and in its shade all the wild animals gave birth. All the great nations of the world lived in its shadow. It was strong and beautiful, with wide-spreading branches, for its roots went deep into abundant water. It says it prospered and grew long, thick branches because of all the water at its roots. Now, we know the tree of life was connected to everything else. It was basically one giant connecting organism. Now, these deep springs that watered it is discussed in Genesis. These springs used to be here, but they dried up, and they powered this organism. No other cedar in the garden of God could rival it. No cypress had branches to equal it. No plane tree had boughs to compare. No tree in the garden of God came close to it in beauty. Because I made this tree so beautiful and gave it such magnificent foliage, it was the envy of all the other trees of Eden, the garden of God. So the Lord is saying all of this to Ezekiel, and we're going to see right now this is a different entity that what's about to come. So this is source energy. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because Egypt became proud and arrogant, and because it set itself so high above the clouds, with its top reaching to the clouds, I will hand it over to a mighty nation that will destroy it as its wickedness deserves. I have already discarded it. A foreign army, the terror of the nations, has cut it down and left it fallen on the ground. Its branches are scattered across the mountains and valleys and ravines of the land. All those who lived in its shadows have gone away and left it lying there. The sovereign Lord is the personification of those going against the divine plan. So this is telling us that these trees were cut down systematically. It says a foreign army, the terror of the nation. It's interesting that the sovereign Lord calls the foreign army the terror of the nations, but in the line before it says that I will hand it over to a mighty nation that will destroy it as its wickedness deserves. So this amazing life form is wicked, but this foreign army is the terror of the nations. This tells us that they know what they're doing is against the divine plan. And even though they're framing this garden as wicked, it's only wicked because they are worshiping materiality and confines. The birds roost on its fallen trunk, and the wild animals lie among its branches. Let the tree of no other nation proudly exult in its own prosperity, though it will be higher than the clouds, and it will be watered from the depths. For all are doomed to die to go to the depths of the earth. They will land in the pit along with everyone else on earth. This is talking about the center of the dish, the exit out of this matrix. They will land in the pit along with everyone else on earth. As we know, they've reversed the truth. So usually in the Bible, when it talks about a pit, we see it as evil and bad. This is telling us that back then it was common knowledge that in the center of the dish, you exit through and go to the land of perpetual twilight. This is what the sovereign Lord says. When Assyria went down to the grave, I made the deep springs mourn. I stopped its rivers and dried up its abundant water. I clothed Lebanon in black and caused the trees of the field to wilt. I made the nation shake with fear at the sound of its fall, for I sent it down to the grave with all the others who descend to the pit. Here we're talking about the pit again, the opening at the center of our plain, and all the other proud trees of Eden, the most beautiful and the best of Lebanon, the ones whose roots went deep into the water, took comfort to find it there in the depths of the earth. So this organism came through the Holy of Holies, and it's still down there. Its allies too were all destroyed and had passed away. They had gone down to the grave, all those nations that had lived in its shade. O Egypt, to which of the trees of Eden will you compare your strength and glory? You too will be brought down to the depths with all these other nations. You will lie there among the outcasts who have died by the sword. This will be the fate of Pharaoh and all his hordes. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. I think a lot of this speaks for itself, and I've been blown away. I've been reading it over and over again because it's just so amazing, and it's plainly in here. So, I love all of you guys. I love you all a lot, and I had a comment that told me that I was talking too fast in some of my videos. So I want to say that when I'm talking too fast, a lot of the times I'm just really excited. Please don't take my intensity as anything threatening. I love all of you guys, and I thank all of you for watching my videos. So basically, yeah, I'm going to end it there. You guys should go to Ezekiel 31 and see for yourself. And until next time, I love you all. Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. Our Earth is flat, and at the opposing ends of it exist the white sun and the black sun. The white sun is above us, and the black sun beneath. If you're new to this, it'll all come together at the end, I promise. When we go through the hole at the center of our plane, we enter a land powered by the black sun, also known as the land of perpetual twilight. This is the exit out of this matrix, which is currently full of unnecessary deception and confines. Hidden in plain sight is a phrase meaning the truth is given to us via symbols, customs, media, and more. The white sun moves in and out of the center hole briefly during the solstices, and this is what brings the seasons. This is apparent in many symbols we're given. Look at a candy cane. The candy cane, as we know, symbolizes Jesus. Jesus is an allegory for our sun. That's why Jesus is the sun. He dies on the cross of Crux during the winter solstice. I have other videos explaining this in further detail. We're told a candy cane is J for Jesus. The sun's arc movement is found in the curve of the candy cane. The question mark represents the same thing. The arc is the sun's movement in and out of the hole, and the dot at the end is the black sun. Broken down, the word